Hey guys, welcome to the Top Dog League Season 3. My name is Blazemos and I'm here with Slicer. We're going to be going through a 5v5 tournament where you'll be seeing 10 different players going to games against each other. And we're going to go over the map pool with Slicer. Tell us more about the maps.
Well, we have a couple ladder maps and a couple older maps for week 3 here. But for the vetoes, though, we're going to go. We've already lost like one of the classic ones, Ohana, which was part of the week 3 schedule. So I liked Ohana. I mean, I'm not sure how everyone else feels about it, but I liked
But
Ohana.
it's got the same feel as Belshire Vistage in terms of how many bases are on the map. And there's a bit of forward expands, but unfortunately the teams have removed those from the map pool. The scores for these players currently, we have Eternal Dreamers and Team 2 Pro. They're both tied for third place at 10 points. And our first match, which is going to be a Zerg versus Protoss, is going to be held on Derelict Watcher TE.
Zerg versus Protoss are definitely one of my favorite matchups. Being a Protoss player, I can just easily deathball my way over most Zergs.
And you could win a lot of games doing that, as people claim that you're just, going across the map and A-moving, when there's probably a lot more entailed to doing that.
Hey, sometimes you still gotta land those force fields and storms.
Yeah, that's true. You gotta take a little bit of consideration and try to get really good force field positioning before you start the map. But we are currently in the loading screen, and the game is about to get underway as we are patiently waiting for the first game of these two players.
Now, Derelict Watcher, a little hard for Protoss to truly defend a third base just because of how open the ramp is from the natural and the third. Zerg can get a really good surround if you have your army sitting in between.
hmm And on the top right corner of this map, we have our Zerg player from Eternal Dreamers. His name is Puppy Paws. And on the bottom left corner, we have our Protoss player from Team 2 Pro. His name is Tole. As Slicer was pointing out, Derelict Watcher has a very nifty third that can easily be taken and walled off by Protoss. That's pretty much something commonly you'll see on this map. And we have also watchtowers on the corners to verify anything going off around the sides of the map, and not so much visualization in the middle, though.
No. And two base attacks are very common on this map for Protoss because most don't really want to try and wall up that third. Because a lot of Zergs like to go mutas against Protoss, and with that third so far out of the way, it's hard to bounce your army back and forth just to cover them both. So
Yeah, that's correct. Unlike maps like Whirlwind and even Yunsu, those maps are a little bit more versatile to move your mutalisks around, whereas the tighter the map, a lot quicker that the mutalisks can get around. And if a situation like that were to actually arise, I want to see how the Phoenix Micro of Tole can perform against something like that. Pretty standard builds, though, by both players so far. It looks like Puppy Paws is going to go into a 15 pull into Hatch, while his Tole is actually going into a Gateway expand, and he's got a really solid SimCity going on right now inside of his base.
creating that little bit of a wall for Zerglings to have to go all the way around gives enough, just like a little bit more time for that Mothership Core and Zealot to try and clean up any early Zerglings that Puppy Paws might, come out and try and harass.
Now, do you think Tole was assuming that Puppy Paws would do a 7 pull or something like that with the way he's doing this base?
Well, Tole is not scouting, so he might be trying to go for the safest possible build while trying to keep early pressure in mind. That's pretty much the main reason you would go Gateway first, just so you can get that Zealot Stalker out with Mothership Core and trying to harass and maybe stop a third base if the Zerg has decided he wanted to be greedy. But we see Nexus coming down, so I might say Gateway all in.
Yeah, it's definitely an option as the Chrono Boost is going down for the Warp Gate. So, based on the fact that there is no second gas being produced by Tole, he may just commit to a Gateway pressure attack as his Overlord goes into the base scouting the Nexus timing. and the first pylon goes down. So the lack of lings at the start to scout this has been a little bit compensated for Puppy Paws in this case, as speed being researched for Zerg.
And Speed did just start to Puppy Paws pulling his drones right off of gas, thinking he might go a little bit economically heavy, and that might hurt him. If there is a gateway timing, that is.
Yeah, Tully can actually put it to some pressure if he sees that the Roach Warren is a little bit late, and a lot of Zealots is the best way to kill as many lings as possible. So it's kind of a requirement lately, even though there are a few speed builds, few speed ling builds, so to speak, with upgrades. That can sometimes work, but it's just really based on whether or not there's a tech-heavy build. And the Ling goes straight inside of the base. He's going to see everything that's going on. As much as Toli tries tonight with 1 sentry, he hides what he is not really hiding because he's not showing anything at all in his base right now.
Yeah, but there was no Stalker out, so I'm going to see heavy sentry with Zealots for those force fields.
Mm-hmm. And totally making his way across the map already. These overlords are scouting everything. They're basically saying, I need to make Zerglings to hold this off. Otherwise, I'm going to take a lot of damage from the tech. And a lot of Zerglings are already ready to intercept the pylon going down. And all this is going to be cleaned up. I highly doubt this is going to do any damage.
Speed finishing at such a perfect time, and with all these lings out, these pylons are pretty much doomed. Toll is going to have to cancel these.
Really nice cleanup by Puppy Paws is just all those pylons were just cancellations, and lings are already out, and that forces a transition already. Pretty good hold. There is no Roach Warren built, and I feel like Tole could have pushed back his attack a little bit and then warped in from a distance.
Yeah, there were no scattering of pylons across the way, so that really did hurt Tole. There was nothing to fall back on, so he had to try and defend what he was building. That ended up in a lost probe and Zealot.
And the mothership core is verifying when the third was being taken. That's going to be a bit of a pain for a while, as there's not really any creep spread to try to hold this off, as the one queen is going to slowly make his way to try to deal with this.
And with the mothership core over there, we might see some ling pressure on from Puppy Paws on Tole here. Mothership core not backed for the Nexus cannon, of course.
That's a good point, actually. Since there is no Nexus cannon available, there is a possibility to actually get this army caught off a position. Puppy Paws not really recognizing what's going on as another attack is coming. There's still a couple sentries available, and Tole's got to be really careful not to lose these units again. He's already made a little bit of a mistake at the start, but these lings are just totally evasive of all these units.
These lings are exactly doing what they need to do. The Roach Warren just came out, and 11 roaches are on the way for Puppy Paws.
Wow, he's totally prepared for this attack. He's going to have units already being warped in to hold this off, because he knows the exact location of where these things are, and he understands the pylon timing. So this leaves a little bit of a window for Puppy Paws to try to engage this earlier before the warp-ins start to kick in.
And there's no retreating pylons either, so this forward pylon is all Tole has.
And here comes the roaches. They're probably going to focus on force field or sentries first before any actual units get taken out. And here comes the engagement. Time warp getting put down, and a couple force fields. Trap of 4 roaches total as a forced engagement comes out by Puppy Paws. I just don't think there's enough Protoss units here. There's just too many roaches. As much as there is not even enough energy for a mass recall, he's forced to back away as there's just too many roaches to deal with.
Yeah, there just weren't enough force fields, and there was not enough roaches caught from the force fields. The reinforcements from Puppy Paws just running over, wasn't even many warp-ins for Tolas. Warped in at home.
That's a good point, Slicer. This is the second time that this has happened already, and a lot of Zealot warp-ins are basically forced instead. And Tole is really trying to get a lot of roach kills before anything actually gets happened. He's trying to waste that larva, waste drones that could have been built, but it's not really working out too well, as supplies are relatively similar still.
And a robotics facility is done with Immortals on the way, but Tole getting a little supply blocked. Those Immortals are going to be delayed a lot longer than he needs them to be.
Yeah, that's a very noticeable mistake by our Protoss player, as Zerg is going into, I want to say, Evo Chamber right now. He's barely just putting down his lair. Kind of a late lair. I think he's been actually focusing more of an attack now that I noticed that there's a lot of roaches here. And I feel like he's still going to commit to more. He's probably going to try his best to deny this third. I feel like he realizes that he has an advantage from all these held attacks throughout the course of the game so far.
Well, without that roach speed, these roaches are not going to be as robust as they normally would be with two immortals out and force fields being able to catch slower roaches. You might see a pretty good trade from Tole here if Puppy Paws does try to engage.
Mm-hmm. Puppy Paws is going to need to focus on those immortals first. That's his goal in this case, and he has a decent drone count, but it's really going to be dependent on whether or not Tole can get good force fields this time and kill a lot of the units before they actually attack.
Robotics Bay has just finished now for Tole, so might see a transition into Colossus, but with this many roaches out on the field, I'm not sure if Colossus would be ideal.
Yeah, he's going to need a bit more immortals to be able to hold this off. Link's going straight for the third, and he's going to try to kill probes. He's going to need a warp in to actually deal with that while he's focusing on the main attack. There's so many zealots here. Like, I just noticed that. I'm not sure if the force fields with the zealots are going to make it a really good targeting for this. Puppy Paw is going to try to pursue on the matter here that's going on, but he's just being a little bit patient. I think he's waiting for the next round of roaches before actually engaging here.
There was a bit of a run by to Tole's third, and a few Zerglings managed to kill 6 workers, so there's always that little bit of a victory.
Yes, it's true, as the roaches are once again persisting, trying to get early zealot kills before anything happens. Lots of force fields go down, but all I see are zealots being taken out, and those roaches are just doing so much work. Those immortals in the back are, I mean, they're trying to get damage down, and time warp goes down, force fields galore still going on. Their first Colossus even ready to join the fight. I'm not sure if the roaches are going to be very effective anymore.
No, that first set of force fields only caught a few roaches out of position, but the second set pretty much cut that army right in half, giving the perfect angle for Tole to kill as many roaches as possible.
And Tole's still committing to this mass roach style. There's only going to be a certain time frame this is going to work. Within the past couple minutes, they were definitely really effective because of how quickly he was diminishing the army that was about to attack him. But I think he needs to start working on getting corruptors out or infestors. Start working on getting those late game transition, even taking a fourth right now on the top left of Derelict Watcher. But he needs some sort of late game plan now.
And just as you say that, the Spire did get started, so we are going to see that transition in the corruptors and maybe even get some broodlords. There's not many stalkers out.
No, there is not, and he has a decent army, but there is an opening to do a timing push. Time and time again, this reminds me of Wings of Liberty builds where the observer was basically just staring at the Spire, and broodlords have become a little bit more of a different play actually coming back into the metagame, as instead Tole is just going to go for an attack now. He realizes that he has a window, and we'll see what he can accomplish with this.
Oh, it looks like Tole's just cleaning out the Overlord spotting in the center. Might try to max out before he decides he's safe enough to engage. That Roach army does have +1 done, but Tole has +1/+1.
And I just noticed that there isn't too much creep spread by Puppy Paws, so trying to set up a forward static defense position is going to be really, really challenging. He's got to guard multiple positions, and he still has all these roaches, but he isn't really accomplishing much. I'm not sure if going for a base trade would be the right decision in this case. Is he going directly into the Protoss base to try to do as much damage as possible, realizing that his opponent's composition is out of the way? Mass recall going on the third, and that third Nexus is not going down anytime soon.
But Puppy Paws did get the info that there were Stargates out now, and Phoenix were on the way. So that Spire may just go straight for Corruptors, if not even used at all.
Yeah, I think that would be the most effective decision against these Colossus that are currently being present. Puppy Paw is trying to buy as much time as possible as 16 Mutalisks in production, but in a retort, 3 Phoenix being produced at a time by our Protoss player. This is going to be very interesting to see how these players combat each other, whether Corruptors are going to be required to take out the Phoenix, or they're just going to be a mass Mutalisk transition by Puppy Paws.
Well, there's no fleet beacon yet, so the Phoenix aren't going to be as effective as they should be against the Mutas. But with +1 Mewtwo attack coming out, we might see Puppy Paws stick with it.
Yeah, and I really do feel like this transition to mutas was a little bit too hasty on Puppy Paw's part. He does not have the 5 gas he needs to get enough mutas out. He has 16 mutas so far, 3 more in production, but you would like to see that number around 30.
Oh, the mutas are actually working on the Phoenix right now. The Phoenix are trying their best to kite, while Puppy Paws is just forcing a base trade and trying to spine up his main.
Oh my god. So those spine crawlers going down in the main base, both players trying to hurry and kill as many production facilities as they can. I feel like the Protoss is in a better position because he already has his 4th established, and there's just not enough bases. Normally Zerg would want to have bases all around the map, and I do not see that right now.
No, indeed not. Puppy Paws has lacked on expanding to anywhere and everywhere as possible, even with mutas out on the field for control. But I don't know, the 3rd base is already down.
I think this game is just going to go to Tolle solely because of the fact that he still has a decent composition. The only thing I can think of is just those.
The Mothership Core is still alive, too.
Yeah, he could force a mass recall at any point, and he's going to disable Mutalisk production. And here comes the mass recall. There it goes onto the main, and that main base is going to be held off. Now you have to understand that there is a 2-base Protoss versus a 1-base Zerg. I'm not sure how well it's going to go, and the army composition looks a little better for our Protoss player.
Puppy Paws backing out, trying to get a better position on Tolle's army. If he tries to back out all the way to save his buildings, I'm not sure how well it's going to work. He's down to 1. He just needs to try and trade off the army as best as possible.
Yeah, he's got to find some sort of opening within the Protoss composition to try to get back into this game. He has the Mutalisks, but he needs to do damage with the Mutalisks. They are a harassing unit. They are not necessarily killing the entire composition yet because there's not a big mass of them.
Hydras are out on the field and being burrowed for some reason and spotted by the observer. Puppy Paws is actually going to lose these.
Oh man, that's too much of a getaway. Protoss is going to be in a huge advantage now in terms of a really good engagement. That was a very odd decision by Puppy Paws to burrow those Hydralisks.
He might have thought that he was burrowing the roaches because they do have burrow and tunneling claws researched, if I do believe. Yep.
But it was a big mistake. That's a lot of gas being invested on those units, although I don't think they would be the wisest choice right now. It's a very confusing game right now. Another mass recall going down. All these drones trying to kill this Nexus, but I don't think that's enough DPS right there.
I think those drones probably had like the worst feeling in their whole life, seeing that entire Protoss army appear around them.
But the bait for those drones was actually for the Mutalisks to go into the main. I think Puppy Paw's objective right now is to disable as many potential mass recalls as possible by just focusing on these Nexuses now. I'm really confused on what's going on with this game. There is a Zealot on the bottom right, but I'm not sure how Zerg is going to be able to stabilize against us.
Hey, that Zealot has 11 kills. He's just looking for a little bit of retirement. Puppy Paws.
When I looked at that, I thought that was a probe, but unfortunately it's not.
Oh, but looks like Puppy Paws is trying to distract Toll's army as best as possible, trying to segment it off and just kill this last Nexus.
I think the goal of Tolle is to now split his composition. He needs to find some sort of way. Oh my gosh, again, another Nexus being taken out by Tolle. This base raise is just getting totally out of control. This unit composition for Tolle needs to engage those Mutalisks, but there's no High Templars. There's no
he's catching
Archons.
Colossus.
Oh man, there's nothing available for Tolle to respond with. He's forced to do these really small attacks on the Zerg player.
If Puppy Paws can keep defending his base from these stalkers, he just lost his lair, hive. And all the stalkers go down for Tolle in the main. Puppy Paws might be in the better position here.
Yeah, I don't think there's any response by Tolle. He's slowly trying to get back into the game. But Puppy Paws, both players, I'm not seeing any hatchery anywhere. Just the Nexus blocking the top left now. I'm not sure how he's going to be able to harass that.
Puppy Paws still has one drone out on the field. He can remake any point he wants.
And that drone, I don't even think he realizes that drone's there.
Well, the army supply says Puppy Paw does have a very good advantage, but getting these mutas caught out of position might not be the best way to go about it, even though they're trying to pick away at pylons here and there.
Yeah, he has lots of roaches, but oh man, I don't know. It's gonna be based on force. This is really, really close. Like, he's got to focus on those Colossus. If he can kill those Colossus, that's more than enough. He has tunneling claws. We're not in this new patch yet, but you know what? He still elects to do that. He can get past those force fields, and that's gonna be the biggest advantage he can do so far.
Puppy Paw's actually delaying blink. That's very important for these mutas. These mutas can
Yeah.
keep going around and harassing. Then, without blink, the stalkers can't really do much.
And Poppypaw is still trying to get an opening into those Colossus. That's all he has to kill. He has a decent amount of roaches, and he's not vastly upgraded or anything. He's trying his best to abuse the fact that he has meter regen, and he's trying to get as much damage as possible. He did just build a hatchery. I don't think Totally is going to know where it's at. But all this stuff on the top left, it just totally comes down to this engagement at this point. Whether or not he focuses on the Colossus, whether or not he gets enough burst DPS. I feel like he could just burrow into there and just kill everything. But it just, I don't know.
Does have one observer left on the field, and ooh, those
That
force
was
fields
really
almost caught him.
close.
Plenty of force fields left for Totally. These
Mhm.
mutas are going to come in and snipe off his. I'm not sure why he's trying to. Oh, yeah. Tole is supply blocked ridiculously. So killing off every single one of these pylons is good news.
And the cybernetic score going down on the 26-minute mark. For those of you that play this game, that is totally standard. He's trying to get his stalkers back in, so he has some sort of way of dealing with these mutalisks. Right now, all he has is a couple of fake phoenixes and stalkers. He has like 5 stalkers, I think it is. But more pylons getting focused, and this composition is still trying to buy as much time as possible as Tolly is mining on his base.
I think what needs to happen is Puppy Paws needs to use the roaches to attack while the mutas are attacking the mineral line. So that way, the stalkers will be out of position, and all Tole will have is Colossus and sentries trying to fight off the roaches.
Yeah, he could definitely go around at this point, and I think he's trying to come up with a strategy. This is almost like chess now. Both players have 2 different types of units, and they're trying to find the best angles to approach from. And it's Puppy Paws who's on the timer now because Tole is mining from his base, even with about 10 probes or so.
Puppy Paws does actually have 3 drones out now, and he's starting to mine as well, but
Engagement going down for Puppy Paws just barely gets that Colossus. He still has decent amount of life left. I'm really confused why he isn't trying to go around and focus on those Colossus. Those are going to be the bigger point targets that he could kill right now. Roaches could easily just burrow into there and just kill everything once those 2 Colossus are dead.
oh, DT Shrine is coming down for Tole, and I'm not sure if there are any overseers out on the field.
Oh boy, here comes the engagement. All
Oh.
those Colossus are out of position. They both get taken out. That's huge. There's so much potential to push now, but Stalker's being warped in. It's just taking too long for Puppy Paws to try to get an engagement going on here.
Oh, with those Colossus gone, those roaches are going to be infinitely more powerful, but those stalkers with Blink now picking off as many mutas as possible.
And the Nexus Cannon is now done. Roach Tunneling Claws is available, but I think he totally forgot to use it. The roach count is just extremely small now. There's too many roaches being warped in. There's too many stalkers being warped in. Roaches can be warped in this patch, by the way.
Tole is actually using Hallucinated Phoenix to scout for that last base, and he's definitely going to spot it.
And the potential for him to just warp in Dark Templars and just go half across the map is probably going to be the game ender in this case. Totally has really solid defense. I feel like the decision making of Poppy Paws took too long, and now he has his Dark Templars at his disposal.
And don't forget about those force fields. Those force fields kept all those roaches at bay for the longest time.
Mm-hmm. 2 DTs being warped in, and they're going to go straight for that hatchery. That is not exactly stealth. It's been revealed, and there's 3 extractors still remaining. There's 2 roaches trying to kill probes, but the time to kill probes has been delayed. This is more of an engagement loss, I guess you could say. The Colossus took too long to be killed.
Yep, I would have to say I agree with that. And too many roaches were lost in the engagement. And DTs are now starting to work on the hatchery. Tole is just going to have to wrap this up right now. There are minerals for... Oh, there's the GG right there.
Tully wins the first series.
Gives Team 2 Pro 1 point for the win.
It's a very odd decision for Puppy Paws to commit to mutas as early as he did. If he had another base full of gases and popped out 30 mutas, then he should have. He could have also built a bunch of spine crawlers if he had forward creep spread to buy more time. Instead, he was more focused on using roaches to buy a lot of time for himself.
Yeah, all those roaches are most likely what caused the end of Puppy Paws there. More mutas would have definitely been a better choice, seeing as how sentries do so little damage, and stalkers, until they have Blink, and Blink was delayed for so long, mutas would have definitely been the better choice.
I think Tole was not expecting that early of a Muta switch, which is why he did not commit to Twilight or any sort of upgrades within them. Normally, it would be a little bit more of a late game decision to focus on Mutas. But in this case, I think Puppy Paws was trying to, realize that he wasn't going to be able to do anything, so that was his only option, and he didn't really accomplish too much out of it until the top left base was basically just a stalemate for him.
The next map will be Polar got vetoed, so Whirlwind.
And our next game will be on that map as we are getting established for Whirlwind to be played. As it's just been broadcasted, we have Team 2 Pro up one, and each of these games are actually potential points for the team itself. So if you were to factor in that this win, basically Team 2 Pro would be ahead of Eternal Dreamers by 1 point because they've accomplished 11 points. So they're still in the standings to try to get more points if they really want to, or their opponent could take points away from them.
Well, with both being tied for third, this is going to be a big kick for whoever takes the most games here.
Yeah, as the players get better and the teams they get better, there's a lot more difficulty going on with it. So, they gotta really work for their points, whether it's, they play them and get their points early on in the season, or, they get lucky and they don't have as difficult opponents, or they train a lot harder for their players later in the season. So, points, points, points. Every point matters. Every game matters. It's very important for these teams.
But it's not late enough in the season where we can say someone's already going to win no matter what. Mm-hmm. So it's always up for grabs.
And yeah, this is a 8-week process. We're currently in week 3, so almost halfway done with these games. And players still have enough time to establish themselves before they get into the late season, so to speak.
Yep, and we might have something special too for the teams that take the top later on. But we'll see how things work out.
So we are going to do the next game. It seems like we're still waiting for one of the players to get inside of the lobby right now. And we have one of our players is going to be a Protoss player. We're still trying to figure out what the other one is.
Looks like Asylum from Team 2 Pro, Team 2 Pro is up. But not quite in the game just yet.
So for those of you that are watching us through the stream, we have several links to which broadcast all of our events that we do throughout the week. Good examples will be to the top of our screen, which are advertised as Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. Please check out our videos and stuff that we have broadcasted. We're starting to stream events throughout the week, not necessarily Top Dog, but we'd also have our players streaming things, whether it's games or tutorials. So please pay attention to those.
Come watch us on staff game night on Friday. This week we're playing Hawken.
And I have totally no experience in Hawken whatsoever, but I am gonna, try it out. And if I don't like it, I'm not gonna create a rage set. I'm just gonna enjoy it because we're just, playing games together and trying to have a good time because that's what's important.
Oh.
And for those of you that want to create your own team, this is something that we do every couple months now. So if this is something that interests you, for those of you that like, oh man, I need some tournaments or I need something to do, and in terms of competitive play, you can create your own season or you create your own group of players, so to speak, with 5 players and 2 subs. Just send your information up to the Thunderdogs forums, and you can participate in the series and even have your games cast like we're doing today. Uh, this is a process that you can work on and you can hope to achieve, and say not just necessarily playing on ladder, and you can work your way towards tournaments like this.
We're definitely trying to build something to help the esports scene as much as possible. Building these leagues is just the start.
Yeah, there could be several events like coaching and whatnot, or when you see tournaments, you're forced to go overseas. There could be a lot of other things you could host, whether it's arcade tournaments, promotion threads where people try to work towards getting better at the game and then set goals for themselves. This is an example of something you can push to accomplish.
And if you're having trouble finding people, we do even host a directory for those teams that are interested.
Yeah, that's the main site that has that. It's all listed over there. You can find clans, you can find people to talk to. Just go out of your way and talk to those people. They should be more than willing to, open themselves up to, joining their group of players that are, doing the same thing as you, just playing StarCraft and enjoying the game for what it is as a competitive esport. So, Slicer, what do you think about the new patch changes that came out?
I don't know about making DTs faster. Making DTs faster is just going to make them so much harder to chase down, but it's just going to encourage me to go DTs in every single PvP matchup. Yeah, observers are just going to be way too slow until you get the upgrade.
Are they faster than observers?
Yes, they are. Until the observer gets the upgrade, DT will have 3.334 speed, I think, after the patch. And observers only like 2.25, I think, if not slower, before their upgrade.
Yeah, I think that's the same way for overseers. They have like 1.88 move speed, and it's like 3.3 move speed with the buff or whatever. So that's a lot of forced upgrading that we have going on with a lot of our units now.
Yes, there were a couple more that I wanted to talk about. I can't remember them.
Tunneling claws that was used in the last game.
Tunneling claws, the faster tunneling claws.
Yeah,
I can see the faster tunneling claws probably being just specifically built around 1 or 2 like roach timing builds. I don't think that tunneling claws will have speed boost for that will have much of an impact overall.
I think that the ZVZ matchup might help it really well in terms of doing counterattacks and not necessarily, just waiting for really fast transitions. I think that's where it could be applicable. I've seen replays of players that just, throw roaches across the map and they try to take their really good concaves and, instead of, building infestors and burrowing them or trying to do, Zerglin counterattacks, you rely on roach tunneling claws to get across the map a lot quicker.
See, the upgrade I'm more interested in is Widowmine splash radius being decreased from 1.75 to 1.1.
Yeah, that's caused a lot of controversy. Unfortunately for this game, we're going to be doing a Zerg versus Protoss, so there is no Terran Widowmines at our disposal yet to, see the last few months or, whether it's permanent or not. How big the radius was in terms of how much damage it can potentially do. So we're going to go into this game on Whirlwind.
And one last quick thing. Oracle's mana Vespian gas is decreased. It's down to 100 now, so makes it a little bit more economical to go Oracles.
Yeah, that's, All right, so on the bottom right corner of Whirlwind, currently having their Protoss player show us, how well they can defend against the base trade. Now we have their Zerg player up at bat. His name is Asylum. On the top left corner, we have our Protoss player from Eternal Dreamers. His name is Migraine.
Oh, we'll see how well a headache goes up against an insane facility.
Slicer at his first attempt for sick jokes. That's really great. I love it. We had
Well,
a actually. Go ahead.
we actually hold on. We actually have a leak switch here. Last game, Tole, the Protoss player, was the one who was GM, and this time Asylum's the GM player here, and Migraine is the master player. So
But that doesn't mean anybody can hold back. You still have the potential to play that player and win against them. Even some players have really bad days, and they may fall to certain mistakes and certain methods of approaching build orders. So I mean, don't see that as a need to cheese from either side.
well, we see it, and we see stuff like that in upper players like Jadong. Even his PVZ, while it has improved drastically, was really bad for a while.
Yeah, that means there's always, hundreds of games. How much effort? I even read an article over Bomber saying, instead of going into my games, thinking about my losses, I'm going to go into my next game thinking about how I'm going to win. And you go into replays thinking about, what I should do to win this game if this actually, came up again. And that's a really good mindset to have with your games. As we see Migraine going into a Gateway Expand build.
And we see a drone scout from Asylum. Looks he might actually try and do a Cat's style expand to Migraine's natural if he can get there in time.
And this has been really frequent in terms of denying naturals. Players put their hatchery on the nat of the Protoss base, and this is usually used to capitalize on Gateway Expand's lack of mining bases, so to speak. And he's going straight for the nat, but then he just decided not to, so may not actually see that.
Asylum was most likely checking to see if there was a forge up in the main anywhere, just to see if he could actually get away with throwing down a hatchery. But with the Zealot out, the DPS of the Zealot and maybe one probe is actually too much for the hatchery, and it'll only get a little bit of creep down, but there goes.
Slicer is correct with his prediction. That's 1 for 1, so although it forced the cancel in this case, unfortunately the Zealot is already in present. Luckily he did not skip the Zealot and go straight into Stalker, which would be totally unorthodox if he did.
Looks like Asylum was trying to do it again just to be annoying and block that Nexus for just a few more seconds while that creep dissipated from the cancel. But 75 minerals for the cancel, though, that seems a little steep.
Yeah, and to make up for that, even though it's a gateway first build, Islam is elected to take gas a little bit later. In fact, he's taking both of his gases now, so he should get his speed at pretty much the same amount of time if he took his gas at around 4 minutes, as he's taking both of them at 5.
We are seeing an extra queen coming out from Asylum, so the creep spread's going to be active for this game. And we might see queens get ready to hold off this attack. With most gateway openings from Protoss players, you're going to see an early attack.
Yeah, it's true. It's really going to be based on how many gateways he commits. There is 2 gateways down so far, and I don't see a third, and I think it's mostly because there are 2 gases taken. This second gas is just barely taken, and he may put down his tech right here on this 3rd spot. I think it might be either a Stargate or a Robo he's going to be focusing on.
Well, it looks like Migraine's actually scouting out Asylum, finally finding his location on the map, just so that if he is going to do a timing attack with his gateways, then he'll actually know where to go.
Yeah, he wants to be able to at least scout the map with something a little bit less expensive than a Zealot, so he has a generic idea on where to focus his pylons on when he can first use them. Sentry's going to take out this Overlord. Overlord not really scouting out too much. He just sees 2 gateways.
2 gateways with the expands does mean he might attack. Can't confirm the 4th gateway, and a 4th gateway definitely means an attack. So we might see, we actually see double evolution coming out.
I know what this is. This is going to be a Zergling-based build by Aslium, and if Migraine can effectively punish this by doing an attack in the mid-game with Zealots and Sentries, he could definitely prevent the Ultralisks from getting out on the late game. That's what Aslium's goal is going to be in this case.
Those did Ultralisk ever get that 50 health point buff? I don't. I remember reading about it a long time ago, but I haven't been around.
You know, Ultras are just never built for me that I have no idea how to answer that question. So it's not in my knowledge to know that right now.
I see. Well, Ultralisk are definitely really hard to kill from a Protoss standpoint if you don't have that double robo out for mass immortal production, because they just
Mhm.
absolutely tear through everything that you got. Even Void Rays just don't seem effective because of how much hit points and armor an Ultralisk actually has. The counterattack coming from Asylum.
Yeah, and there is one zealot. Oh my gosh, there was actually a hole inside of that wall. Holy cow! I don't expect that from a player of this caliber. And there's also a frontal attack going on with one pylon being set up, but the more important thing going on is the mass recall that just got forced from Migraine. All of his units are now in his base. That attack was totally thwarted just because of a minor mistake.
That was probably the worst possible recall for Migraine. The sentries got warped in right in the center of all
Wow.
Zerglings, and they just all died.
Nicely done by Aslium to recognize that. That was probably really unfortunate for him as he's going into Twilight, realizing that now he's behind. The Zerg third is being established, and there is no +1 yet, but there is a decent amount of lings to handle this as another Zealot gets warped in.
But those Zealots had a nice little semi-wall there. The Zerglings did not get the surround, so a lot of Zerglings did fall.
And 1-1 is just barely finishing. It's going to finish before +1 attack is up, but that doesn't matter. There's just too many Zealots here to handle this, and 3 Queens are going to have to be able to take this out as more lings funnel in.
Very well held off by Asylum. Migraine's gonna have to figure out what to do against these Zerglings.
And Migraine is just, he doesn't know that his opponent is just straight teching. He has somewhat of a gist based on how many lings are out, but the production by Eslium is just rushing towards that Ultra Den. This is going to be really, really, really fast Ultras as the third goes down for Migraine.
The Hive is just started for Asylum, and coming from actually Migraine only has 2 workers and one of his gases on his main. That's gonna hurt him in the long run.
And that's from that Ling follow-up that now is, blocked. There's 2 pylons walking off that wall.
Oh, the force field on the wrong side of the sentry there, and all these out of position units get surrounded.
Really good decision making by Aslium, realizing that he has a minor advantage, and now he has enough lings to deny this third, and it gets canceled. This game is looking really, really well for Aslium so far.
Looks like Migraine's going to have to go off something that's too base because the fourth's starting to come down for Asylum. But it looks like Migraine's actually going for a cannon rush on the fourth at the 11-minute mark.
Worlds. And in the process of this teching Blink, I'm not sure how well Blink Stalkers will fare against Ultralisks, as they are going to be done in the next 2 minutes.
Ooh, Migraine might have a misread on this. He might expect Mutalisk to be coming out sometime shortly.
Well, from all these people going into, mass Mutalisk, which it would be wise, but is he actually scouting this? Yeah, he is scouting the Hive. He does see it, and I don't see an Ultra Den yet, so he is already putting down the Templar Archives to deal with the Lings.
Adrenal Glands is started now for Asylum, and this fourth might actually go down. There's 4 cannons here, but all these circlings should clean it up.
Yeah, that's definitely, especially with the minor upgrades. It's not like, your 4-minute cannon rush that's going on, where it's just going to do a lot. In this case, it's just basically going to... Wow, it's just actually being a huge pain. That hatchery is going to get
It's going to be really close. Is it going to go down? It went down!
Oh my gosh. Really good decision making by Migraine to set up that cannon.
It's going to put them in a much, much better position. Archons are on the way. They'll be able to handle the Lings. They essentially one-shot Lings.
And the Ultra Den going down for Asilium. I don't know if the Immortals, they are being produced. They are being started.
Only one of the... Ooh, another little mistake there.
Oh, man. And this is going to be a full-on committal this time. There's just going to be so many units. The first Immortal that just got produced is already being taken out. The engagement hasn't even been started yet. And I don't think Migraine is going to... GG gets called. Asilium takes the second game.
a lot of wall mistakes from Migraine there, allowing those upgraded Zerglings to get in and just terrorize and just break the nerve of Migraine.
And that's very unusual from a player like him. He needs to have that wall. He needs to establish his third, and his timing attack needed to do damage. He should have been able to cancel that third base of Islam. He was on the right track on what he was doing. It's just he made a minor mistake, and what happens in StarCraft is if that occurs, you're forced to play from an extreme back foot, and you need to follow up with something, whether it's by Warp Prism, whether it's by DTs. And Migraine was on the right track by going into a Twilight, but I did not see DT Shrine. He just let the Zerg get out of control. He constantly did pressure. He caught his third out of position, and that steamrolled him into a win.
At one point, there was a War Prism coming out, but it was right as all the Zerglings were flooding into Migraine's base. There was just nothing he can do.
Yeah, a game like this is a really good example on why you need to get back into the game as quickly as possible. Don't wait until the last minute to do something. As soon as you know you're behind, try to find options to get back in there, whether Slicer is pointing out a Warp Prism or DTs, or even that Cannon Rush that he was doing. That was a desperation to say, I can't have you have 4 bases when I'm on 2 bases. It's not going to happen. You have to find some sort of ways to get back into the game.
Alright, our next map for Game 3 is going to be Belshir Vistage. It looks like we're going to have Adobe coming from Team 2 Pro and Marco coming from Eternal Dreamers.
And do we have the races for these players?
Not off the top of my head.
So we are going into the lobby for this game. For those of you that are watching the stream, I appreciate you taking the time to watch our Top Dog series for week 3. This is going a weekly event that is going on, that is held for multiple teams. You'll see different teams being played throughout the course of this tournament for a 5v5. And we're just waiting for these guys to join our lobby.
Also, be sure to follow us on all of our social networks. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter for all the updates for any streaming schedule, any team updates, any changes to our Top Dog, and announcements for our tournament system later on within the next 2 months.
Yeah, the tournament system is going to be implemented to, allow different options, not necessarily from Top Dog. Top Dog is free, and anybody can just join in and say, I have 5 bronze players. We're going to win the whole thing, and, we're going to dominate any GMs that you've already seen play right now. If that is something that you want to do, you have the option to do that, and you can come up with a team, come up with a couple subs, and have the opportunity to compete against really amazing players that we have on display. And I'm not being serious about being bronze. No personal offense to anybody who is in the chat that is bronze. There's definitely ways where you can just communicate with people to get better at the game.
Asylum won that last game, so the score right now would be Team 2 Pro is up 2-1. Or 2-0. 2-0. Bode versus Marco, and Marco is a Zerg player according to Eternal Dreams captain. Bode looks like he's a Zerg player.
Oh, or is it? Oh, man.
Oh, nope, he's Protoss. So we're going to see another PVZ. It's Night of the PVZs.
That's fine with me. I don't really care. As long as it's not a TVT, it's like, 50-minute game or something like that. Oh, man. And you are correct, too.
Oh, boy, I'm totally okay with this. PVZ is definitely my favorite matchup.
We're going to be doing this on Belshir Vistage. I want to say this is a little bit of a Protoss favorite map, mostly because of the fact that the 4th through 5th are a little bit forward. So if Protoss can extend his third to an early fourth and hold that fourth, I think he would be in a really good position.
Uh, I'd say it was more because it's easier to force field throughout the whole map.
Yeah,
But
there's definitely a lot of options around the third, especially with the tight concaves. Alright, so we are in the loading for Belcher Vistage. It's going to be a ZVP on Belcher Vistage LE. For those of you that don't know what LE stands for, it means Ladder Edition. We have the ladder-based version with our amazing rocks on the ramps. And on the bottom right corner, we have our Protoss player from Team 2 Pro. His name is a Bodhi. On the top left corner, we have our Zerg player from Eternal Dreamers. His name is the Macro Master.
Abode is a Grandmaster player, and Macro Master is a Master player. So we should see another good game from these guys.
And we're going to find out whether or not he can react to the map properly. Commonly on this map, I've seen really quick view transitions, and any sort of unusual unorthodox play is probably going to be performed by the Zerg player. And as we were pointing out in the lobby chat, it's mostly because of these really, really tight areas that we're basically abusing, whether it's these ramps, whether it's these bushes. These are really good examples of difficulties that Zerg will go through on this map.
Yes, and an early scout from Abode just to see if there's any little early shenanigans with that forward pylon. There's not going to be any defense for any Zergling attacks. But a gas first.
Whoa. That's not one of those cancellations. Very strange decision. Even though Abode. Am I saying that right?
Abode.
Abode. Right. My English lesson is complete. Abode. Okay, so Abode does see the extractor being produced early in a spawning pool, contrary to a spawning pool into hatchery. And I'm pretty sure a little bit of a difference will be created by Abode in terms of creating his gateways a little bit earlier.
It looks like Macro's definitely going for the early speed, and maybe even trying to do a Baneling bust against our Protoss player Abode here. So there's a couple possibilities, but it definitely says early aggression.
I completely agree with that. There is no commit to this hatchery. As we know, you see these players, they're forced to do extremely weird things like this, and that is the amusement of going into these games and saying, is he going to play standard? Is he just going to tech speed and do a speed league timing? We need to see Abode do a wall off really quick and get that Zealot and Mothership Core out as soon as possible.
Looks like we are going to see very heavy Zergling play with speed, because the hatchery is going down now, and there's no more workers on gas, not even the ones for Baneling, so heavy early Zerglings. But the wall's up for Abode.
Yeah, and is this going to be a mistake by him, or is he going to fake him out and just stop production for wings? I mean, it just seems really simple for Abode to just, wall off his ramp or wall off his Nat with a couple of Zealots and Sentry or whatever and say, I'm just going to transition to Stargate and just start making Wood Rays now.
Well, with early speed, Macro's going to have an advantage in denying any scouting whatsoever except for through Hallucinated Phoenix. Yeah. And we'll have the map presence to stop any third base, forcing Abode to either try and take a super later third or to do a two-base timing.
Yeah, he's definitely not going to be able to do any sort of pressure. I think he's going to be forced into gases. And maybe that's the reasoning why he's doing this build. He's trying to, not force Abode to, whoa, these links actually
hold position.
Oh my gosh. And those speedlings are now inside of the base. There's only 6 of them, and there is no warp in. So probes are being forced to be pulled, and all this is doing really is just denying mining time.
There's that lack of defense in the main base that I mentioned earlier, BlazeMost. These Zerglings are going to be as annoying as possible. And, well, I'd say kill the Zealot, but some of them went after the probe, so...
Yeah, and he's trying to abuse the fact he does see that there's two gases already down, but another probe gets taken out, and that's totaling two so far. As much as this is extremely minor, as it's kind of annoying for Bode.
Well, those Zerglings have definitely just paid for themselves with that third probe down, and another one is going to go down.
Oh. As you know, as minor. Oh my gosh, he had another one. As minor as it may
What?
seem, it's causing a little bit of multitasking issue for a Bode. He's not focusing on those lings. You know, his build order, he's trying to think about his build order while doing this, and it's 626, and I see no tech already, so it's already accomplished more than enough as it may seem, as this probe on the top right does not see a third.
But that could be a good spot for a proxy pylon. If we do see a large amount of gateways, we could see a +1 timing, but +1 hasn't been started. All those drone losses really hurt his gas mining.
As we see the most dynamic maze in the Protoss wall right now, is he had to get a Zealot all the way through this miniature pylon line. Oh my gosh, a Ventral Sex being teched from Macromaster. This is going to be a drop play by our Zerg player. He's probably going to drop Lings into the main, and quite possibly Banelings.
Oh, seeing some Bane Rain would definitely make this game extremely interesting. But
Yeah,
we have the gas for it too, so maybe Roaches as well, but no Roach done yet.
the Bane Rain was a common, I think it was like late 2011 that it started coming into effect, and people were doing it against Protoss compositions because they realized that, you know, they were just going into Mass Colossus and they had all their units bunched up together, so why don't I implement some support DPS by adding Banelings into Overlords and just dropping them on top of the composition, and that seems to be what the order is going to be called for this game, as the Mothership Corps going into the base to scout what's going on, as there's no obs.
And we see a second forge coming down from above. It looks like he's going to dedicate to a heavy gateway style with 3 more gateways being finished and a Twilight Council being thrown down right now.
Really good response by Abode. He realizes that it's going to be a Ling-based build, so going into Archons or High Templars is going to be his best choice. Although Colossus would be good, it's going to take an extremely long time for it to get out, and Abode is going around saying, hey, what's going on? What are you teching? Oh, I see the Baneling Nest and Mass's Recall.
Overlord speed's done. Ooh.
Does he know where this is coming from? Oh, there goes the Overlords. I don't think he sees this, honestly. Like, does nothing on the map, no map presence whatsoever. He's going to be totally confused on what is coming his way.
And there's absolutely nothing, but the Mothership Corps might actually spot this. It's going to see the Overlords coming in, but there's not much else to defend against it.
Does he have enough units to deal with this? Probe's already being pulled. This drop, I mean, it's just going to do so much damage. DT Shrine being created, but is it going to be out in time to kill this stuff?
Well, the Overlord with the Baneling still has them in there. He could just drop them right over the sentries and take them all out. Here they come.
Wow, really good utility by Macromaster to have that secondary effect, as there's just, oh my gosh, I totally missed a Baneling drop going on the Nats as the main Nexus gets taken out. Really good leverage now for our Zerg player as the Banelings are being dropped. They kill even more probes.
41 probes killed throughout this whole attack. I don't think a boat has the ability to come back from this.
It's time for me to post on the BNet forums about how Overlord drops are not being used enough, as this was proven to be a successful attack by our Zerg player.
Oh, well, Bode's only on 1 base now, and he still only has 4 gateways, but DT Shrine is just finishing. But with all those Overlords still out on the field, Overseers will just shut him down easily.
Yeah, he's just definitely going to need to make a little bit of Spine Crawlers, or a little bit of Spores to defend his bases now, as he can comfortably drone and try to get much of a lead if he feels like it, as Bode is definitely forced to do an attack here. Otherwise, he will, you know, be on 1 base for the rest of the game if that's what he chooses to do.
Hydralisk are out on the field for Macromaster, and those little machine guns are just going to tear down those Stalkers, even if they have +1 attack and +1 shields.
Yeah, a very unusual decision now that I look at it for +1 shields. I think he's just trying to, you know, buffer a lot of the damage that goes out. There's a couple of Spine Crawlers moving into position now. There is a DT over here on the left. He's probably just going to go in with his main attack and then wait for his to opponent's composition to go through, but I don't think this is going to be enough to do any damage. Here comes the composition. Mass Recall, I was already predicting that was going to happen, and that's all he's going to be able to do. Supplies show that Zerg is double the supply of Protoss currently.
Well, Bo did see that there were not a lot of drones mining at the third, so he probably feels in a little bit more comfortable position, even though it's still not the best one possible.
And a DT going into the main, unfortunately, it does not have 3.3 move speed yet, so it is going to be caught almost as it hides in a very unusual spot since it stopped moving. Now this is going to buy as much time as possible, but unfortunately it gets taken out. As for the Protoss main, he is researching Blink, and I feel like the best thing he could do in this case is to try to get extremely cost efficient with his Blink Stalker micro. That would be a good decision by him.
We do have an Overseer scouting out of Bode's base. He does see a Bode is mining from his main yet again, and a Changeling does die from a probe. Just a little drive-by.
Wow, and he sees everyone. No need for him to be extremely greedy as Infestation Den goes down. He has a decent drone count. His objective now is to basically just trade cost efficiently against his opponent as he has, decent supply lead so far.
Hydra range and Roach speed are on the way. This Roach Hydra build is going to be extremely deadly against any gateway-based army.
Yep, Hydralisks basically kill a lot of the gateway units that are being produced so far. And he's open to do an attack at any point. I think he's focused on trying to get... Whoa, DT's being created. I can't see purple, basically, because I'm colorblind. And it didn't accomplish too much, I would imagine. A few drones killed, as the Spine Crawler is now in position to deal with DTs.
Only a total of 9 drones killed for Abode here against Macro. But the 42 of Macros is just still hurting Abode just too much.
And he still has that utility available to him. I feel like he just doesn't feel like displaying it yet, as he does have Overlord drops, and he still has Lings to be able to do yet another Baneling attack. He could do this throughout the course of the game if he wants to. He can launch a bit of an attack with a Nat. He can even try to focus on over here and just disable it while throwing Banelings on the main. I mean, there's so many things you could do with Vengeful Sacks. I just feel like it's not explored yet.
Well, there are a good amount of Banelings coming out for Macro, so we might see more Baneling rain, because those Overlords are in a position to pick up those Banelings.
Yeah, and the Protoss composition is trying to take his third in the process and realizing that, I could get attacked over here. I need to put a cannon down here and defend this, as a DT is attacking the fourth of the Zerg player.
Yeah,
barely doesn't get taken out. As I was explaining earlier on the map, it's very important that these bases are held. I've even seen players take forward 6 against their opponent just to disable them from actually taking those bases.
Well, looks like Macromaster with the Infestors out is going to try to press the issue here. Those Infestors are just going to lock down the whole army, and with the Bane Rain, there's just going to be nothing Adobe can do.
Yeah,
Abode.
Good point. Abode pointed out that here comes the Infestors to lock down. Force fields get placed. This attack can't push yet. He needs to wait for those force fields to go out. Otherwise, he is just going to lose those Banelings for free. As 2 expansions being taken by our Zerg player and High Templars being warped in. If he had Storm finished right now, that would be more than enough to hold off this attack, but he needs another 60 seconds, and he's going to buy it with this Photon Overcharge. Fungal getting put down again.
Oh, here come the Bane Rain right on the sentries. And there were even roaches in those as well. The army literally gets split in half for both players.
Wow, that was really interesting decision making by Macromaster, as a lot of these units are basically just creating a huge concave against the Protoss army, and there is no force fields enough, but DT's getting warped in, realizing that there is no Overseer, as Overseer is being warped in from the middle of the map now, but that Nexus still gets taken out.
But the armies, there's just so little for Abode left. I'm surprised that Macro did not press the issue.
Yeah, I think he wants to take a little advantage that he gained out of trading and say, I'm going to make another 10 drones. And that's what he has on his 4th right now. He has a 4-base economy against a 2-base Protoss player. So I'm not really sure, although he is focusing on Roach Hydra now. I'm not sure if that's actually going to do anything if he gets really good storms. It's definitely a possibility, but since there is just not enough supply here, I feel like the end of the game will be soon.
Oh, and there was no storms. It was just feedback on the overseers to try and get out Dark Templars to hold this off. But with the army of Macro, there's just no way a boat's going to hold this off. Like Cybernetics Core goes down.
And a couple of DTs as a last effort as GG gets called. Eternal Dreamers takes that game with really excellent ventral sax usage throughout the course of the game.
That puts the games right now at Team 2 Pro with 2 wins and Eternal Dreamers at 1.
Yeah, I really do feel like the Protoss player in this case for the Bode, he could have had a little bit better of a scouting read on it and probably warped in a little bit more stalkers preemptively to deal with it. He could have even, sat outside of there and realized where the overlords were going to come from and killed a lot of the overlords before they actually dropped all the units. It was definitely a possibility for him to do. In this case, he was expecting more of an attack from his natural. And this is, one of the examples of plays that you can do available to you.
Yeah, Spanling bombs are not used as much as they were back in 2012, so this was just like pulling out one of those old strategies and hoping that your opponent just doesn't see it coming.
And this is what goes along with the experience you get on ladder. You're basically doing a best of one against, totally random players, and there could be totally different builders that you've never seen before. And as you progress up on the ladder, these are much more frequent that will occur. And so the game demands you to have experience in how you want to handle it. Just beyond the 20 times that you've played against it, now it's like, can you do this 20 times? Can you do this build 20 times? That will be Star Station.
So the next map's going to be Star Station. Players will most likely be Buster Como and from Team 2 Pro and Baldwin from Eternal Dreamers.
And Baldwin is a Zerg player, is that correct?
I don't have the info in front of me.
Well, the reason why I point that out is that I saw Baldwin play a similar style, not necessarily similar, but a really good defensive style against one of the games that he played last week. And it was against a Immortal Zealot Olin, and he was really preventative with his gas timings in terms of bailing units at the right time. And now we're going to see him again and see how he responds to the player that he has going up against. Yeah. Yep, this is the guy. Now we're going to see yet again another ZVP, but in this time on Star Station.
One more ZVP for the night? Why not? I mean,
I don't know. Protoss on Star Station. What do you think about that?
Protoss and Star Station? I'm not exactly a fan of Star Station. It just seems a little too open for my liking, so we might see the Zerg player have a little bit of an advantage.
Mm-hmm. And although it could get into the really, really, really late game for Protoss in terms of taking 5th and 6th, even proxy bases I've seen on this map, there could be potential. There's someone saying, I got to have my tech somewhere on the map, or have my base, in a very odd corner, and hope that you don't see that. Those are definitely options, or even having really odd unit compositions, whether it's with carriers, swarm hosts, or ultralists going across the map and try to take really good engagements. Those are really different things that occur on Star Station. It's just one of those maps because it's big.
It is a very big map. We could see even hidden bases as well. Star Station being one of those notorious 4-player maps for that.
And, I know everybody does 2v2s on Star Station. That's like something you guys go into every single day. I mean, it's something that these guys practice when really they're more focused on the 1v1 aspect. Star Station is forced for cross bonds only. So if you've been scouting on the edges of the map, please don't do so. This is my helpful tip of the year that it's going to be cross spawned. I promise.
Uh, Star Station does have a couple little counterattack paths as well. Be even able to see a normal fourth base coming on the low ground off to the sides of the center.
Yeah, there's options. There's even watchtowers everywhere. There's like watchtowers on the left, right, top, bottom. So I mean, as long as you have units positioned there, you should be able to identify anything that's coming your way. As long as you know there's not an infinite amount of creep that is on the map, which is definitely a possibility.
Do those watchtowers actually reach all the way to the sides of the map? I don't remember too much.
They are on the far left side and the far right side. They identify the fourth.
All the way
So,
to the edge of the map, though, you know, for
I want to say a very small amount is missing. I don't think it covers the entire area. So if you like try to throw your warp prism on the far right or the far left, you should be able to get around that. A little bit of chat banter going on in our lobby. We're waiting for our opponent, for our third player, and for those of you that are just joining us, this is a 5-game series. We have 10 players that are competing against each other from Eternal Dreamers and Team 2 Pro. They are doing a 1 versus 1 series, and each of them are playing against opponents. All of them are guaranteed to play. This isn't like a normal best of 9 where we have one guy who's just going to all kill the entire series, and we're not going to see different matchups.
we do have the Pro League style set up just so that all players get exposed. And, show them on our stream, do a little showcasing.
And with the map selections, which reminds me of watching it last night, we have different maps, not necessarily all of the ladder maps being selected, mostly because it allows a little bit more creativity in terms of, not designing, I'm going to practice 1,000 games on this map and prepare this build order, and there's a lot of different maps for you to get accustomed with, so it's more focused on the mechanics of the player and not necessarily, a build order win that you can just go into and say, I already have my pylon positioning on this, side of the map. And we are doing yet again another ZVP on Star Station.
It looks like Team 2 Pros actually using their sub. We are not going to see Buster Como from Team 2 Pro. Looks like we're getting Moros from Team 2 Pro.
And they're just verifying that everybody is good to go. No, nobody selected Terran in this case, because nobody plays Terran here. That is a joke. If you take me seriously, please, please, please do not get offended. We're just here to have fun. And we are now in the countdown phase. Alright, so we are loading into this map station for the ZVP that we are going to play. And I'm just staring at this blue bar right now. It's loads of fun to watch it move to the right. And at the top left corner of the map, we have our Protoss player from Team 2 Pro. His name is Moros. Now on the bottom right corner of the map, we have our Zerg player from Eternal Dreamers. His name is Baldwin.
So, Blazemos, what do you think about Star Station in a ZVP format?
Well, I think if the game gets extremely long, it becomes a little bit more sided towards the Protoss. And this is definitely one of those maps where you would actually focus in on doing very odd tech switches, whether it's by going into Mutalisks or Swarmhosts or Vipers. I would really like to see Vipers from Baldwin. I would like to see, some guy set up static defense and be forced to play that really obnoxious turtle style that everybody hates from Zerg just by going to Swarmhost Spores.
Swarm hosts are definitely one of the deadlier strategies Zergs could employ, but the best way to beat it would be double robo, and Protosses really haven't been going double robo lately, unless they scout out the Swarm hosts, of course.
Yeah, nobody really is expecting Scorpos unless it's like a really, really early infestation den. Even I've seen times where players have put their Nidus worms right outside of the second base on this map and basically just started sieging from that point. So there's definitely something that could be utilized on this map.
Two-base swarm hosts are definitely very, very strong. It's just early enough to where there's only maybe one or two class if you just go like straight from gateway to robo after your cyberzone. But it's gonna be rare to actually see that from Moros. But we do have a Nexus first coming down.
Yeah, it's pretty appropriate for this map to go into a kind of greedy build. It's not like he's going to get six pulled and not be able to react to it in time, as he does see the hatchery being produced. So it's a safe accusation to just put down his Nexus, try to focus on taking shortcuts and being greedy.
Being greedy is definitely one of the good ways to play against the Zerg. The ability to turtle from the Protoss player with the force fields is extremely high. That probe actually did not deny the hatchery for a very long period of time. Baldwin is going to be on similar economies once the hatchery finishes, and even if a third, or when the third goes down.
And a couple links going half across the map now to just verify what is going on with Rose. I think he's going to try to intercept, but with Freeling, it's not going to work because that cannon is being created.
The cannon will be finished, and that probe. I don't think that probe's actually holding off.
Are we going to see a repeat?
Oh, 3 games where just Zerglings win the game by running in the mineral line. It's not a good time for Protoss.
Yeah, and we're going to see whether Rose can block off his little intersection too.
Well, there's the third base from Baldwin, so we are going to see a bit more of a macro game instead of any more two-base shenaniganry.
Everybody's taking out their pen and paper now because the build orders are being presented in this series with ventral sacks and lane-oriented builds.
It's always nice to see different or old builds being resurrected just to, throw a wrench into someone's standard play plan.
And if you want to find these are all on the internet. I promise you, even stuff like 5 racks all in people still do these builds. So anything you see today on these matches are definitely just stuff that people have researched and have fine-tuned on their own.
Yes, I'm sure Baldwin has played his fair amount of games. He is a grandmaster as well.
Yeah, so he has just as much experience as the last player that we had presented that was doing his own creative style. So it's not necessarily, one unit OP, oh man, Zergling's OP. Well, I think carriers are OP, so I should just go mass carriers all game. It's just how you actually use those units and, what way you're actually presenting them as a Stargate goes down for the Protoss player.
If we wish hard enough, we might actually get carriers because the Stargate is coming down.
The one Stargate is actually a pretty good sign he's going to go mass carriers. I'm just kidding. I'm not being serious. It's not an actual indication he's going to go mass carriers yet. Would be nice, but I highly doubt it on this map. It's probably going to be more focused on Void Rays.
Or a Heavy Phoenix play. Heavy Phoenix is very annoying to deal with as a Zerg player until, get out. And there's a Phoenix coming out.
Yeah. We have seen Hero actually commit to about 8 Phoenix, and this is mostly because that Zerg players do not put too many spores down. They'll put the initial 1 spore down, but if they just, had 8 Phoenix run in and start picking up drones, a couple Queens is not going to take care of that. So I'm not sure if he's going to commit to that. He is building a Robo, so he may just sway towards Colossus production after the initial 4 are being produced.
It looks like the Phoenix are just to take out Overlords and take away Baldwin's side of the map, because we do have a Robo facility that was dropped literally under the Overlord. A little curious spot to put it, but we'll see what Moros does with it.
Yeah, and I don't think he's too concerned about the scouting done. He's probably just going to deny supply, and that's as most he's going to be able to get out of it, but he is constantly producing Phoenixes. So,
or Prism.
Oh, whoa. Oh, okay, I know what this is. Alright, so what we're going to see here is, just by the Warp Prism being called out by Slicer, he is going to try to do a Warp Prism on this ramp and he's going to try to block off this ramp. This is a very unusual build. The Phoenixes are going to be escorts for the Warp Prism. As you see right now, they're denying a lot of map control, and the Warp Prism is going to just swoop in and hopefully start warping in units. But there's really good creep spread by our Zerg player, though.
Well, if Moros can actually get a few sentries on the top ramp, he could actually take out Baldwin's main and reset his lair tech back down to hatchery level.
But the Lings are going across the map. Do they actually see that this is coming? He just barely gets sight of this, and the Lings are still going to commit. There is yet again another opening on this wall.
These Zerglings are going to go to work on Moros. There's only one warp gate. And 4 more are just changing right now.
Wow, really clutch timing by our Zerg player to abuse that right before stuff got finished. And the Warp Prism is just going to go inside. It's a desperation call. He's trying to get units in, but does he actually have the ability to warp in things? Man, the Warp Prism just got taken out as a little bit of chat going on, and GG gets called. Baldwin wins that game.
Moros calling his play extremely rusty, but he was trying to go for the force shield on the ramp, but the Queens were just in the right position to take out the Warp Prism before any reinforcements could be warped in.
And that build generally hits at around 10-20, and he was really, really close. It's just his gateways were a little bit late. He shouldn't have been able to block off that attack, and he should have been able to push that small advantage of having those Phoenix out. But there's too much of a response by our Zerg player with just the creep spread being set up and the forward spores already being in preparation.
And with those Zerglings running in and just harassing the economy and killing all those probes, there's no recovery out of it. Our Protoss player is just not really having a good luck with their walls at all.
Yeah, all of the walls tonight have been breached. It's very unusual to see. Normally it's just, I put a Zealot down and it's just, I warp in units and I'm good. But in this case, several times there have been openings inside of walls, even some of them that were not able to be warped in.
We could say that the Protoss player has a bit of a glory hole problem.
Yeah, that's true. But in this case, not entirely sure on that one. We're going to go for the 5th map, which will be on Frost LE. And that is definitely not a map that was vetoed, as the 2 vetoes that were used were Ohana and Polar Knight.
Well, Frost LE, one of the newer maps that was added to the ladder pool. Blaze Mills, do you know if it was used in any GSL or GSTL, or was it just a winner of a contest from Team Liquid?
It is currently being used in GSL. In fact, I remember that there's even a cannon rush thing that you could do on it. I'm not inciting any way, the match, oh man, I think this guy should cannon rush or anything, but it is commonly used as a 2-player map. And I'm totally fine with the decision. There's nothing really odd about the map besides that. There's a lot of different, areas to expand. There's even rocks on the map. Hopefully Dustin Browder is watching and I'm going with that joke anyway. So bad.
There are definitely a lot of counterattack paths in this map, looking at the screenshots from it. I haven't had much experience. It looks like the top and bottom have a little high ground ramp too.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of areas to push back advantages in terms of pressing attacks or whatever. So it's not necessarily. It reminds me of Towering Altar. There's like a huge area, and it's just like I could do attacks anywhere. I could just push or whatever, and not necessarily buy extra time or whatever. So those players are now getting into the lobby. We have identified that Team 2 Pros player is a Zerg. And we're just waiting for our secondary. It is currently a Penderman. Hopefully his Penderman status is eventually vanquished.
Looks like Team 2 Pro's player's name is going to be Legacy. Did have it in the roster list as his name being Barcode. I guess his name's Legacy. Eternal Dreamers, we're going to have Fenris Wolf. We're going to see a ZVT.
Right. And this is on Frost LE that we're going to be doing a ZVT. Both players are ready, and And
Fenris is not quite ready just yet.
okay, and we're going to give him a little bit of time to prepare. So if you've enjoyed our cast so far, please check up on our social media week links that are listed up below, which is right there and pointing up there. Those are whenever we get updates on things that we are doing. So keep up with underdogs and keep up with things that are going on with the top dog leagues. Figure out what scores are, figure out when your next match is or whatnot, or even come up with your own team.
Looks like both players are ready.
And as they are good to go, we are going to finish up this series with a Zerg versus Terran for the Team 2 Pro versus Eternal Dreamers. And the countdown has begun.
I'm excited for his CVT.
Alright, so we are in the loading screen for this last match. And now we're going to introduce the players on Frost LE. On the bottom right corner, we have our player from Team 2 Pro. His name is Legacy. On the top left corner, we have our Terran player from Eternal Dreamers. His name is Fenris Wolf. Interesting position.
Yeah, cross spawns. Frost LE actually being a really, really large map, we could see macro play coming out from both these players right off the bat.
Yeah, and based on the way these games have been played out, I feel like anything is bound to happen. This is a 4-player map, but the expands are a little bit forward in this case. I don't want to say that those are really good spots to take, considering this is versus Terran, you're trying to reduce the distance and the creep from your opponent. So those are factors to take into consideration when let's say, for example, your opponent's taking your third or whatever. You're like, I don't want to expand towards him, whereas Terran's like, oh man, I want to expand towards my opponent so I can set up PFs, totally defending and stuff.
And after your natural base, there are actually a lot of ramps coming in and any different direction from a counterattack or just a Ling run by or even boosted medevacs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not much airspace on this map, so a lot of the stuff will be identified, and if possible, overlords will just get picked off by medevacs that just drop marines and say, I see your overlord, so I'm just going to release as much vision as possible. Not too confirmed, with putting overlords everywhere on a map like this.
No, but this map being just that big, there's always that possibility of a hidden base, but I doubt we will see anything like that.
Yeah, most of these players are pretty confident in taking games away before anything, really huge occurs. As the first Reaper being produced from Fenris Wolf, he took a gas early and is not committing to his factory, so pretty standard play by him in this case.
We do have the expansion down from Legacy, gas and a pool being started about halfway done each. There will be queens out for to hold off this Reaper, and it looks like the SCV is going to finally scout out where Legacy was. That SCV did run into the Overlord and probably figured where he was right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. And he immediately moved out of the way. He made a distance call. I was like, I'm just going to go to this other base instead of wasting my time scouting this. And second Reaper being produced, would not see anything beyond the second, as 2 is pretty normal. Probably make a CC now, safely on the high ground.
We may see one more barracks come down, or actually a factory coming down. Looks like going into tech for Fenris Wolf. We could see a heavy marine or 3-base marine Whittle mine that Pult made so famous in his CVTs.
And all this stuff is just really based on the controller. There's potential to do counterattacks. Reaper gets held off. There's potential to do really good positioning with Whittle mine. You can attack from these cliffs. And push advantages, defend your advantages, make spine crawlers. Really good at making spine crawlers, defend against these attacks. So we're going to see whether or not Legacy can do the same thing in terms of that mid-game, late-game pushes.
Two Reapers are out being really, really annoying to Legacy. It's like Fenris is going to do everything he can to make these Reapers worthwhile, but they're being held off pretty effectively by Legacy. No real scouting being done, but there's not really much to look at right now anyway.
Yeah, he's going to basically try to deny the base, but in this case he's just backing away. He's already accomplished enough to realize it's not an all-in. Starport is being produced by Fenris Wolf. He may commit to a couple of Cloak Banshees to deny the third once a few Hellions are out.
We may see actually a bit of a Hellion Reaper push. I've seen it a few times in WCS. Can't think of the name exactly, but it's very tough to hold off. He's very, very mobile composition and very annoying to Zerglings, especially with those Hellion splash.
And you can identify that attack's coming because of this rally being set up towards Fenris Wolf. A lot more Hellions are going to be rallied towards that Hellion, and then he's going to try to deny the third. And that's what the overall goal is. And what could be punished is that Legacy focuses too much on drones and not enough on lanes to hold this attack off, which it looks like he seems to have a pretty good graph coming.
Oh, it looks like they'll just barely see each other. Fenris does go in, but Hellion gets picked off.
Yeah, that's a pretty good start for him, and he's going to need a few more lanes to engage his composition. All he's trying to do right now is buy time, so his third hatchery actually gains health.
It looks like Fenris is trying his best to intercept these Zerglings, and might get one or two more of them, but these Zerglings are just going to bounce away.
Yeah, upgrades being started for Legacy, while a Banshee is being produced for our Terran player. I'm not sure how much he's going to commit to this. He may just immediately abandon Banshee production as he swaps his factory and Starport and starts into medevacs.
This is a little strange. 3 engineering bays coming up for Fenris. You think this might be a little bit of a mistake?
I think it's kind of a mistake. I'm not entirely sure why he's building 3 engineering bays. Maybe he needs his Neo-Steam steel frame and structure armor for his production facilities, as the Lings are basically focusing in. Oh man, lots of Lings get taken out. I don't know, his attack's actually pretty strong now.
Those Hellions do roast Lings, and there's 1-1 upgrades to only half done. With the Banshee adding the more DPS, there's just not going to be much Legacy can do until there's just at least Roaches or a really large amount of Zerglings out.
Yeah, that Spore actually is going to get taken out before it actually does any damage, so this attack is not going to get focused down. I think the Lings should be enough to actually clean this up.
The surround there was perfect. Fenris kind of running right at Legacy's reinforcements coming in, and the forces that swung around to try and attack right off the bat just pinned them up against the wall, and Fenris just lost everything.
And the third engineering bay actually provides no beneficial use in this case, as Fenris Wolf is attacking 1-1, and the third engineering bay is not really doing anything, so a little bit of a mistake by his part, as the Zerg player is focusing on his typical upgrades into a Spire. So it's going to be a pretty standard game, nothing totally unusual being produced, although there is a siege tank for defense in case there's any sort of roach pressure attack coming.
Hey, we might see the extra cargo room in the bunker upgrade. You know how important that one is.
You know, it's actually really important in a lot of the campaign levels. Like, I think there's like a zombie arcade game or whatever. You're forced to like upgrade that. I guess it actually puts some sort of use.
Left to Die?
Yeah, that's what it was.
But we see a Spire coming up from Legacy. No Baneling Nest just yet.
He does have a Baneling Nest, though.
Oh, he does.
He hasn't decided to do any central fluid hooks upgrade yet, as the Spire and the Banelings will be used to hold off these Widow Mines if they ever get produced, although I don't see any. Actually, this is a very strange opening by Fenris Wolf now that I look at it.
Yeah, it was essentially... It was like an economical 1-1-1.
Gosh. Very odd decision by Fenris Wolf once again to put down 2 factories. When I cast these games, I do not ever see Biomine. I always see mech. It's a very strange oddity I'm going through right now.
Well, Terran players using mech. I mean, mech's a really strong army once you get it built, but it just takes so long to build it. Oh, counterattack from Legacy.
Yeah, lots of Lings doing damage here. Is this going to be a deja vu of these games that we see? The Lings are being extremely successful lately. I guess we need to reduce their health or something.
Oh, I don't know, man. I played Zerg on EU a few times, and Zerglings just get a little squishy after a while. But it looks like Fenris is gonna save this third command center, even though these Lings are just being as annoying as possible against it.
And since there is Mutalisks in production, the decision to actually go tanks early on is really going to be varied based on whether or not there's enough Mutalisks or if there's enough Marine production. Yeah, it's actually not going to be mech. I apologize. This looks like it's going to be a bio with mass siege tanks. So he's going to have siege tanks to actually do damage instead of Widow Mines.
He has one reactor in one of his factories that looks like a bit of a hybrid build that Fenris has stashed away for himself.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's very unusual for him to do something like this, kind of steering away from the metagame currently. And another attack goes down on this third. His third is constantly being harassed. A few Mutalisks trying to deny missile turrets being produced. But man, I don't know if this is the right decision to throw away these Mutalisks. Man, they're getting a lot of SCVs though.
Well, it doesn't even look like he was throwing away the Mutalisk. It looks like Fenris tried to A-move somewhere. Mutalisk got out of range, and, well, they just ended up taking out a few SCVs and just scampering away.
Yeah, and he still has a few of his Mutalisk intact, even a Banshee being totally invulnerable to these Mutalisks being dodged. And a drop going down on the bottom left as Spore is in position to handle it, and there's a few more Mutalisks should be able to take out that medevac, and it shouldn't do too much damage as a lot more Mutalisks merge together.
We do have 10 workers killed for Legacy from that Mutalisk attack, but the unit count says that they're pretty much even right now, so the economy is definitely going to be in the Terran player's favor.
There is a Bear fourth going down for Legacy, as I don't know if he has 2-2 and his opponent is at 2-2, so it's really going to be based on whether or not he remembers to get 3-3 and he starts focusing in on trying to do engagements right now. Decent creep spread by Legacy. Could be a little bit better though.
We do have the burrow tech or the faster burrow for Widow Mines coming out, and these factories are producing Widow Mines, every single one of them, and just Mass Marine coming out with Fenris, and 2-2 is just about ready to finish for those Marines.
Oh, but the tanks are actually getting caught out of position. None of this stuff is set up yet. I don't know if this is the right choice to be out here, Fenris Wolf.
Oh, definitely hurt him losing those siege tanks. Those siege tanks were meant to kill as many banelings as possible, but losing those is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and the Mutalisk count is being built up as a drop going down on the top right base, not accomplishing too much. Mutal count is going to be up to 25 at the 16-minute mark.
It looks like 7 more workers were killed by Fenris Wolf, so not exactly causing the most worthless drop, but still preventing a little bit of mining at Legacy's base.
And it looks like these Widow Mines are going to be preparing to attack on the 4th. He realizes there's not too much creep spread here, and it's the least anticipated location to attack from our Zerg player. So those Widow Mines are now in position. He's got to try to bait as much of them as he can.
It actually has a really good fallback lane that Fenris has set up, but oh, here come the Mutalisk. Ooh.
Pretty decent Widow Mine hit right there, and he's trying to bait out a couple more before he actually commits to this. 2 Widow Mines hit. Oh man, that's actually qualifying him to actually do an engagement at that point. But does he have any extra Widow Mines? There's just not enough Marines here. As a couple more lanes get taken out. There's just units being streamed across the map now at this point, realizing that he has a minor advantage with those 2 Widow Mine hits.
Oh, but Fenris Wolf's back Widow Mines didn't go off at all. He only saved a very small amount of Marines, and without those Marines, those Widow Mines aren't going to be as effective as they should be.
Yeah, those Marines should have been able to kill all those Mutalisks. The drop going down on the bottom left, taking out a few more workers yet again, and there's no sort of saturation on the bottom. As another attack going into main, Widow Mine's getting into position, trying to get those Banelings out of the way.
Now with the Mutalisk distracted at the main base, Fenris Wolf moves into the 4th, and he pretty much killed off the entire ground army for Legacy. There's more Zerglings coming, and the Mutalisks are just way too out of position.
Yeah, I don't see any Overseers. Where are the Overseers? Oh, they're with the Mutalisks, and here they come. Is there any response for these Widow Mines being taken out? Because they're going to get ruined. Oh man, that's huge. 6 of them getting taken out.
All the Whittle mines that were in a forward position get taken out. Fenris Wolf, I think, needs more marine production. And he's spending his minerals as best he can, but he just doesn't have that massive marines to lead lead the units to the Whittle mines. And losing all these medevacs is just going to hurt him even more.
Yeah, he's not really trading the best against our Zerg player Legacy. He's losing a lot. Really good Widowmine kit, but does he have enough Marines to support this attack? The Mutalisk count is getting really out of control as another 5 being built with 27 already created.
Legacy actually kind of being smart with his Zerglings. He knows where the Widow mines are, and he's using like his Zerglings to try and detonate on the Marines after getting us around. And that splash damage does hurt Marines pretty badly as well.
Supplies are now in favor of the Zerg player as he needs really good Widow Mines hits and to be able to actually hold this off. A forward 5th being taken for our Zerg player as the Terran has taken his 4th. Both trades are going on in the center yet again.
A large amount of Zerglings just died. These Banelings are exposed to these Marines. And then 3-3 is about halfway done for Fenris. Once 3-3 hits, these Marines are going to be just so deadly.
But I don't know. There's actually 40 mutas now out for our... Whoa, pretty good Baneling hits for the Zerg player. Oh man, there's still a few Widow Mines in the back, but are in the right position to actually deal with this. Mutalisks being suicided now to actually handle with the Widow Mines.
So many of the Marines got taken out, and without those medevacs to heal them, these Mutalisks are just going to be out of control. The Widow Mines did all get off hits, but the Mutalisk flock is still largely intact and largely in the green.
Yep, and there's just not enough damage so far, as the Terran player is not effectively punishing the Zerg player at all, not getting enough Widow Mine connects. More focused in on getting Widow Mine production, but not enough Marines actually handle the Mutalisks.
Well, with all this aggression from Fenris, Legacy can't harass. I mean, the income for Fenris is way higher, and making sure this 5th base can't really do anything, it's going to put him in a good position.
Yeah, I agree with that. Fenris Wolf, as much as he's denying this 4th right now, it's pretty equal in terms of economy. As pushing towards this base, Legacy is going to take a huge blow by losing this 4th. As there's actually 2 starports already in production, making medevacs.
3-3 is done for Fenris, and Mega! Those were some
close,
really good.
and he's actually pushing it, and yet another one of mine. Is that possible? Is he going to get that? Is he actually going to get a hit? Here comes all the Banelings.
Oh, these Zerglings are going to make all these Widow Mines detonate, but there's still one in the back that could potentially do the damage that's needed. There's still a couple there. Oh, they're flying towards him. Ugh.
Nope, he's definitely reacting to it. He definitely sees it, but he's suiciding other units, and those Mutalisks are still alive.
Oh, all the Overseers did get taken out. These Mutalisks are going to be vulnerable to those Widow Mines.
Wow, he had 40 mutas at one point, and now he's at 18. Good trading by the Terran player as he pushes his advantage even more. He is now scanning off-the-wall bases to see if the Zerg took a very unusual base.
Fenris has been dropping, too, the whole time, and he's been taking out workers on gas. Units lost shows Legacy just 2,000 ahead of Fenris. Fenris definitely doing good trading with those Widow Mines.
And the Ultralisk Cavern being produced. This is a very odd decision, but I feel like he knows that he's had Mutalisks for an extremely long time. So now he's actually debating that the gas that he has right now can be committed into it. Here comes another attack. Widow Mine almost out of position.
But there are Overseers with these Mutalisks now. There are still enough Mutalisks to one-shoot the Widow Mine before it gets a shot off, but when like 6 of them burrow at a time, it's hard to do it. Oh, and big hits.
Terran is actually going to start building Ravens now. I noticed Corvid Reactor being produced, and he is already focusing in on the late game, but is there enough ground composition here to actually handle this?
Oh, the Banelings cleaned up the whole ground army. These Mutalisks are still out on the field. There's 24 out now. And, there's a Raven looking to do Seekers, but the Seekers would just take too long to trigger off, and it's just going to fizzle out.
Counterattack by our Terran player, trying to get extra economy damage done, trying to reduce that 4 base to 3 base. As I feel like the Terran is in a stronger position in this case because there's multiple CCs down, and I do not see a 5th by our Legacy.
With all the pressure coming from Fenris, Legacy has just been taxed on his micro and just can't get his economy rolling any better. With Fenris dropping at the same time as constant pressure, what can you really do?
And we may see the switch into battle cruisers if he starts focusing in on upgrades to work on his Ravens. He's starting to get his cost efficiency up, but I mean, he's not entirely devoted to making battle cruisers yet. He still needs to win the war on the ground first.
Looks like chitinous plating is coming for the Ultralisk, but we don't have any on the field in this attack. Oh,
Whoa,
the secret missiles!
is that actually going to be hit?
Oh, they're going to hit!
Oh my gosh, several Mutalisks taken out there.
6 Seeker missiles, but there's still plenty of Mutalisks out on the field. 26 Mutas still out. And a few more just popped as well. Looks like our Legacy will be sticking with Mutas for the time being.
Yeah, I don't think he has enough minerals to afford Ultralisk. That's why I'm a little confused on his decision to actually going Ultralisk Cavern when he has not actually had his 4th or 5th up for an extremely long time.
The Widowmine Bird at the 5th took out a couple more Mutas, and this command center going down. That just leaves the 6 more that he had.
2 more Seeker missiles being duds, not to be confused with explosive mines on the ground that are not ever duds.
And Fenris trying his best to get those Mutalisks with these Widow Mines, but the Mutalisks are just a little too quick.
Yeah, and I'm not too confident that Mutalisks will work in the late game as long as the Ravens... Oh man, almost caught out of position. The Ravens get clutch Seeker missiles. That could definitely end the game compared to 3 Widow Mines killing all those Mutalisks at the same time.
We did just see 2 Seeker missiles do their damage, and these Ravens are out there, but there's no energy for Seeker.
No, but there is Widow Mines to kill as many Banelings as possible, as those Mutalisks are now going to pursue those Widow Mines as they're being taken out. I don't see a response enough for these Mutalisks. He's going to trade Mutas for Marines now, as there's still a huge Muta flock here of 34 still running rampant. I don't think Terran has enough of a response so far to just, really build Ravens.
Well, the supply favor still is in Fenris's favor, although it's fairly even right now. Looks like Legacy's having problems with his injects and with another counterattack from Legacy. Ooh.
Yeah. Another base gets taken out by our Legacy player, and he's stuck on almost 1 base now compared to his opponent who has almost 2 base economy.
Yeah, there is only 1 mining base for Legacy. This is going to come so far behind. He needs to make those Mutas as useful as possible. It looks like he's going to try for the counterattack.
But is he going to have the mass repair? Is that actually going to occur? He could one-shot turrets, but that doesn't matter. He's got to move his composition down there and kill as much as he can.
If he gets down there, he can take out all these Mutas, but it looks like, the Zerglings come in to save the Mutas so that they can destroy the base.
Wow, good decision making by Fenris Wolf to actually. Oh, here comes the Seeker missiles, but they don't do anything yet again.
The Seekers fizzle out.
Units.
Good reaction from Legacy, making sure that those Seeker missiles don't do any more damage than they've already done.
As once again, both players are actually very ego-starved. They're both on 1 base economy, as these Mutalisks are going to be extremely potent for the rest of the game. Because, oh my gosh, nice surround. Oh, but there's still no Seeker missiles going off.
Oh, Fenris losing so many medevacs to these Mutas. These Mutas are just completely picking apart Fenris's army. He's flying all his air units over that little dead spot, and that Legacy was microing his Mutas around, and he lost a good amount of medevacs and almost all of his Ravens.
Yeah, Legacy has really good Muta control. He's been keeping them alive for an extremely long time. He has not thrown away all of them. As another attack goes down, several Widow Mines get procced, but there's Marines who are going to go straight for the Mutas now because they can actually trade another counterattack. This is really, really close. Zerg just doesn't have the economy to keep going in this game as he's just throwing away units. And all these Marines are actually going to be cleaned up by all these Mutalisks.
Oh, but the Widow Mines did so much damage to the Mutas. The Mutas are down to 18 now, it looks like. And 19 on the field just before these 3 Widow Mines. And if he leaves them there, they're going to detonate again.
That's right. If you just leave your Widow Mine there, you might get lots of kills, so you don't ever have to actually look at them anymore if you choose not to.
Looks like Legacy is going to try to be conservative with his Mutas. He knows he has the worst economy. He's only on 1 base. They can't really afford much else.
Yeah, he really needs to focus in on trying to take hatcheries all around the map. I just don't think he has enough money to do so. That time has come. Like literally like 10 minutes ago, he needed to take 2 extra bases, and there are just so many traps everywhere. Widow mines on fifths, Marines being patrolled at different areas to verify drones not getting caught off guard. There's just so many odd things that Fenris Wolf has control of the map right now.
And we saw the Ultra Den come down a lot earlier in the upgrade get research, but we never saw any Ultras. Legacy had to put all of his minerals into Zerglings just to hold off the constant pressure from Fenris.
And yet another attack on the fourth. There is almost no mining being done by the Zerg, but he still has a huge muted composition that yet again cleans up this attack. I don't know how long this Zerg will actually be able to do this because he's just going up against 70 plus supply that his opponent right now.
And it looks like Legacy's just running out of steam. That one base economy's pretty much been not doing anything for the few minutes, for ever since that attack. And Legacy just doesn't have enough. Fenris is just outproducing him, outbackering the Zerg player.
Yep, that's definitely what's going on right now as the fifth is once again being pursued. He did spam the bottom fifth and realized that there was no fifth here, so just by killing this base, it pretty much secures the win for Eternal Dreamers today. You expect GG to be called soon, unless some really outrageous magic happens with Banelings maybe burrowed, maybe trying to do a couple counterattacks on non-PF areas.
But Fenris showing that this strategy is still really, really strong. Do you think if Legacy actually managed to get Ultras out on the field, if that would have turned the tide a little bit, or do you think Wolf's economy was just too strong?
I don't think so. As GG gets called from our Legacy player, I don't agree with the Ultra switch. I feel like that gas was invested in just upgrades and didn't do him good. It was really great that he was able to commit to as many mutas as he was able to. It's just the hatcheries for his fifth and the sixth were not ever available, so he didn't have the money to build Ultras. So he knew what he actually had to do as an alternative, but the excess gas and the excess loss of minerals by not having those bases set up, he didn't have any sort of leverage to do that late game tech.
Well, that was the last game for the night. Eternal Dreamers actually turning it around from a 2-0 start, coming out on ahead to win the series 3-2 for tonight.
Yep, good job by them. They get their 3 points, an extra point for winning the entire series, so that takes them far up in the standings. If we look through the listing, we're going to. It takes them currently above KLG, but we don't know what's going on with KLG. We'll eventually update those standings. And for those of you that are watching, I appreciate the time that you spent joining us. Be sure to check out our social media links up above. And I appreciate the players for playing their games today.
And tune in next week for week 4. We'll have the schedule up by Thursday, we usually do. And, well, I guess we'll see you guys next week. I'm Slicer.
And I'm BlazeMost. Thank you for watching, and good night.